Welcome back to the Mental Health Minute. I'm Dr. Emily Mayfield, a licensed psychologist. Thank you for watching this video and being a part of the Mindset Therapy family. Today, I want to make a follow-up video on the Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie video I made a few weeks ago. In the last video, I discussed the body cam footage of the traffic stop of Gabby and Brian in Moab, Utah. In that video, I discussed my thoughts on what was happening and behaviors from both Gabby and Brian that could be suggestive of an abusive relationship. When that video was recorded, the death of Gabby was confirmed, but the cause of death had not yet been released. On October 12th, the cause of death for Gabby was released and determined to be strangulation. I want to discuss this cause of death and how it is a red flag in abusive relationships and a sign that if someone you know has ever threatened to strangle you or did strangle you but it didn't lead to death, now is the time to get out. Strangulation in abusive relationships is a red flag you shouldn't ignore, and today I will discuss why that is. But first, before we discuss that further, thank you for watching this video and being a part of the Mindset Therapy family. You can follow us on social media for more content related to all things mental health. If you know someone who might enjoy this video, please share it so we can continue to have the Mindset Therapy family grow. I'd also like to hear from you in the comments below, even if just to say hi. When professionals complete assessments on people who have been abused in a relationship, a history of strangulation is assessed because strangulation places the person at higher risk for more serious abuse and/or death at the hands of their abusers. This doesn't only include romantic relationships, but that is where it is often seen, so that will be the focus I take today. Let's start with what strangulation is. So strangulation is when blood supply to a part of the body is reduced or cut off as a result of blood vessels being compressed. For the purposes of this video, we will discuss strangulation specifically in the context of compression of the neck as a way to reduce or cut off blood flow to the head. This action can lead to damages that are temporary or permanent. Strangulation can also lead to death if restriction of blood flow is long enough. When you think of being strangled, of course, it sounds like a terrible act to commit or have inflicted on you. But why would it be a big red flag for abusive relationships and something you should be aware of if it's happening in your relationship? Strangulation is a very personal crime, and it is all about power and control. The abuser feels as if they are losing control, and they strangle as a way to control. There is an immense power behind this act because the abuser is holding the victim's life in their hands, literally, and the victim knows this. Death through strangulation can come so quickly, sometimes in less than a minute, as blood flow is shut off to the brain. While the abuser may not have intended the victim to die, it can happen quickly with the act of strangulation. The use of strangulation is particularly dangerous because it is done in the heat of the moment when someone is upset. When the abuser is angry, they will not be thinking clearly and are more likely to act impulsively. Strangulation is a personal crime because you can see the person that you're strangling. The abuser is right there with the person and can see the fear in their eyes and can feel the struggling under their arms as they continue to hold their hands on the person's neck. To watch someone die through your own continued actions is an evil way to enact your abuse. Strangulation is the ultimate form of control. When you consider the body cam footage of Gabby during the traffic stop in Utah, and then understand her cause of death was strangulation, you can further see the abusive behaviors carried out by Brian in at least the weeks leading up to her death. Check out my other video for my full assessment on that traffic stop. When Gabby was talking to the police, she discussed how Brian grabbed her face and left a mark. She also had other marks on her, likely from his grabbing or pushing her. While Gabby didn't say Brian had grabbed her throat at any point, he was definitely displaying abusive actions observed by strangers that led to the traffic stop. In the absence of Gabby saying Brian had previously strangled her, what might be some signs the police could have looked for in Gabby to determine whether strangulation was an abusive tactic used by Brian? It is important you know what signs to look for so you can be aware of possible abuse in your friends or family members. When people are being abused, they are often embarrassed to discuss what is happening. However, if they have a partner who has strangled them or threatened to, then you can escalate your concerns that they leave the relationship. The signs of strangulation can be obvious and more hidden. The most obvious sign would be bruises or other marks on the person's neck. Less obvious signs of strangulation would be hoarseness in the person's speech, shortness of breath, or they demonstrate difficulty swallowing. While it may seem bruises or marks would develop on anyone who is strangled due to the force required, every person's body responds differently, or their skin may be darker and not show bruises as easily. If you are concerned about someone, look for other signs that would involve their throat, such as swallowing, eating, breathing, or speaking. If you suspect someone is being abused, it is okay to ask them. They have the option to not answer, but there is nothing wrong with you asking them. This will allow them to know that you are there for them should they ever get the strength to discuss it with you. No one will know whether Brian had strangled Gabby any time prior to her death, but there were likely signs of escalating abuse and control that may have been seen by others. Yes, in their case it would be difficult because they lived an isolated life and met people for only brief periods of time. Hindsight is 20/20, and when we have more information on the back end, we can better question what may have happened previously. Be curious about those around you and check in on them whenever you can. It only takes one moment of rage where the abuser places their hands around the victim's neck to cause death in about a minute. Comment below if you had concern about someone who was in an abusive relationship and what helped you talk to them about your concerns. Your experiences can help others who might be in a similar situation. Also, if you enjoyed the content of this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button to be a part of the Mindset Therapy family. I look forward to seeing you at the next video.